Well, we've reached the immigrants kidnapping, killing, and eating cats and ducks portion of the election season. A story so absurd that it naturally thrives in the dark recesses of the internet. But what should remain in those dark recesses is now broadcast to millions of people because Donald Trump is basically your fox-loving grandpa who doom scrolls on Facebook and lacks the mental acuity to discern a racist rumor from the truth. Except he's the racist grandpa who's seeking access to the nuclear codes. We're now learning that this whole pet-eating nonsense was a planned debate tactic for Trump to use against Vice President Kamala Harris. Mark Caputo reported for The Bulwark that, quote, if the moderators hit him for spreading a baseless urban legend about Haitian immigrants eating cats in the small city of Springfield, Ohio, the ex-president was supposed to execute a classic rope-a-dope strategy. He would dodge the punch and place the blame for the story on town locals. Then he'd pivot to attacking Vice President Kamala Harris over the toll of immigration in Springfield. Instead, as we all saw, Trump wasn't able to execute the tactic because he, like the proverbial Facebook grandpa, got weighed down by the weird conspiracy part. A campaign insider told Caputo that Trump was supposed to make Harris own the Biden record. Instead, the whole Republican Party now owns one of the most racist conspiracy theories in modern history, one that is so gross. Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks it's too extreme. Back with me, Claire McCaskill, Jason Johnson, Mark Leibovich. Mark, a two-part question for you. Part one, Donald Trump is sort of running against the standard Republican Party. So the Karl Roves of the world, he can say, see, they're rhinos, right? So that kind of probably helps him when they say he's trash. But now Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying his new thing is trash. She's a QAnon. So where are we going here with this Haitians, migrants eating your dogs?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, he has been perfectly comfortable with alienating what used to be the Republican base. I mean, he has, I guess, been effective in that regard. But yeah, I mean, the problem is his base is not controllable. I mean, they might be loyal to him specifically, but they are not controllable. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, RFK Jr., Lindsey Graham, I mean, any number of people for any number of different reasons are going to go off the reservation because there is no reservation here, right? And this is a place where Trump is very comfortable going. I'm not sure, you know, he might attack Marjorie Taylor Greene, who knows? But I mean, I do think, I mean, I guess sort of to back up a little bit, I do think that it is meaningful when the Alberto Gonzaleses and the Liz Cheneys and the Dick Cheneys of the world come out against him, not because I mean, anyone's surprised by it necessarily, but because tens of millions of people voted for George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, and many of them are still alive, many of them are still Republicans, and many of them are looking for reasons to support the Republican ticket, which is why I think it would be really powerful if George W. Bush actually said something. But I do think that this is significant, it's meaningful, and I think, you know, the base, you know, might support Trump still, but it's not cohesive necessarily, and that could be a problem.
It does help, Jason, because it does help Kamala Harris in the sense that it's a permission structure. It's a door open that says, hey, if you're a normie Republican, you can feel welcome over here. You're going to get love at our convention, and we're not crazy. But let's go back really quick to this story, and I'm glad Claire called it out as well. They're doing a thing that is so outre and weird. Yeah. That I can't see how it doesn't alienate white voters who don't want to be associated with just open, Lara Loomer, cuckoo, crazy racism. And yet this is where the campaign has decided to go. They had an actual plan for him to use that story in the debate. He just screwed it up.
This is the one time they had a plan instead of a concept of one, right? And they still managed to get it wrong. Here's the thing, Joy. Most people don't want, and especially even white voters and white sort of swing voters, even though I don't believe in swing voters, they don't want to be associated with crazy. That's why they voted for Biden over Trump, right? I don't like crazy anymore. This is not a generalizable story. This is not illegal, undocumented people are committing crimes, right? That's something anyone can comprehend. Or starting gangs. That's something anyone can comprehend. The idea that you have people who are eating pets on a regular basis, and that this is something you should fear, it sounds crazy. It's not something
Laura Loomer's made it worse and says that they're eating people.
Yes, eating people.
She's saying they're cannibals like Hannibal Lecter.
Right. You know, stealing ducks from the park. And here's the thing. It's that meme where it says the worst person you know made a good point. When Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, hey, I think this is a little too much, that's the kind of thing that makes more and more white Americans say, hey, I don't want to do this. But here's the other thing, Joe, I think is key about Republicans. I want to make this clear because we're not going to memory hole this, right? Alberto Gonzales, these were terrible people. These people who were working with Bush were terrible people. They justified torture. They lied about a war. The idea that those people who did everything they could to open the pathway to somebody like Trump have now recognized that the Frankenstein monster they created might destroy what's left of this country is not something that the Democrats should cheer about, because these people aren't great, but it is a sign that even the darkest depths of American society are saying, okay, this is now too far. I will put Gonzalez in the same kind of, Dick Cheney, these people in the same category as Marjorie Taylor Greene of enough is enough.
Absolutely. They open the door and they let the monsters in, and now they're like, ooh, monsters, but you know what? We're glad that they're on the side of democracy in this moment. I want to come back, Claire, because the origins of a lot of Trump's sort of current strategy are J.D. Vance's world, which is he is from the manosphere, dark corners of the internet, white nationalist, curious sort of part of the party, you know, and he now has said this. This is him on CNBC, literally saying something even weirder than when he said Taylor Swift is a rich celebrity, so why would anyone relate to her, not realizing he was talking about his boss. But here he is talking about prosperity and migration. Take a listen.
If the path to prosperity was flooding your nation with low-wage immigrants, then Springfield, Ohio would be the most prosperous country and the most prosperous city in the world. America would be the most prosperous country in the world. While we've had this massive influx of illegal labor, what's happened? We've had skyrocketing inflation, lower take-home pay, Americans more dissatisfied with the direction of the country and the economy than they've been in a generation. This is not the path to prosperity, no matter how much a Wall Street bank says that it is.
My head is exploding because literally this country's prosperity was built in the first place by flooding it with zero-wage labor, meaning slavery made America a superpower when it was an infant nation. And currently, with all the immigrants and all of the migrants who come here, we literally have the world's highest GDP. This is literally the most prosperous country on earth. What is he talking about, Claire?
Yeah, and it's interesting he did that on CNBC because the audience there is by and large, not 100%, but by and large, highly educated people who have taken economics in college. And many of them have taken a lot of economics in terms of academic studies. And the academic of this, in terms of the economy, is that, in fact, one of the reasons we recovered from COVID was some of the immigrant labor base. That doesn't mean that anybody in the Democratic Party wants an open border. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the economics show that he is, spewing nonsense on a channel that is being received by people who know it's nonsense. And frankly, listen, I get what Jason's saying about Gonzalez and Cheney and all of that. But really, who's worse are the people like Steve Schwartzman and, frankly, Nikki Haley and Mitch McConnell that are bending a knee when they know how bad this guy is. They know it in their bones. And so, the people who are saying they won't vote for Trump, they're not always people I agree with on much. But I sure agree with them that this is a patriotic vote, not a partisan vote. And I think that J.D. Vance, people need to understand he is Project 2025. He believes every word of it. They can do all they want to say. What, Project 2025? Not me. But he was very close to the people who did it. He agrees with every word of it. And when he says he doesn't, he's not telling you the truth.
He worked for Peter Thiel. He is literally an investment banker. He knows that immigration, and they want low-wage labor, but they don't want it to be brown, I guess. Literally, the only reason anyone ate during the pandemic is because of all the migrant labor in the meatpacking plants. They were essential employees who didn't get to stay home and catch a stimmy while they sat in the basement. They had to go to work, and that's why we made it. Claire McCaskill, Jason Johnson, Mark Leibovich, make it all make sense.